In this video, I want to share the precise moment that my Reiki practice changed. And in that moment, things became exponentially different. Now, in a previous video, I was sharing with you the idea of everything that I've learned on my journey with Reiki. And that whole video is focusing on mindset, right? On the state of mind that a Reiki or meditation or mindfulness or holistic practice can help us to establish inside the body. How does all of this look and feel and rest? If we can get all of that to be calm and quiet, well, then we're all of a sudden turning into a body and a being that is on a healing trajectory as opposed to one that is suffering, right? So that's all well and good, and that really allowed my Reiki understanding, my Reiki practice, and my practice of the other modalities that I love so much, meditation, yoga, mindfulness, and so on, to really start to deepen their roots, right? It gave me a place inside of increasing stillness, increasing peace, right? And further to that, it gave me the courage to look in and face myself. Maybe just for another second, maybe for one more practice or one more day, whatever it might be, but constantly giving me the reassurance that it's safe and you can do it and you can go in. And I know, go back and watch that video. I'll link it right here. My story is I'm coming from crippling health anxiety, right? I'm a cancer survivor. There was a lot of stuff that I had to face, and I'm still facing them, to be honest, right? Going through all of those things with an increasing level of reassurance that I'm safe, that it's okay to do so, and so on. That's helped my practice to take off. But it's not only just with myself and how my practice took off for myself, but also with my clients. Because remember, the external world is only a reflection of your internal space. So if this is busy and chaotic and not committed and unsure of your practice and wobbly and so on, then that is never going to respond, right? So with all of that being said, what was the moment that my entire Reiki practice then took another turn, and almost a 90-degree turn in my understanding of my practice? Well, I've got Thich Nhat Hanh and Dainin Ketagari and my teacher, Hakutan Inamoto, to thank for this moment of understanding. And that understanding is in the word moment. So what do I mean by that? Well, in all of our practices, we are looking for a place of stillness. And we're looking for that moment when everything comes into focus. And I had no concept or understanding of what that was, what it looked like, what it meant, or even how to obtain it as I started to walk through their teachings and their understandings of not just Reiki, but also spirituality, Buddhism, and meditation. This idea of this place of being, or this moment frozen in time and space, started to appear before me. It started to make itself aware. And that to me was the game changer, recognizing and feeling that. Maybe a lot of you have already felt this. It is that feeling when we're deep in our practice where time and space and distance and lives and suffering and thought and ego and self are all gone. Everything is unified because nothing exists, right? It's a profoundly beautiful space to be in. It's a profoundly enlightening and expansive space to be in because we can finally start to see the meaning of the word Reiki, or of this idea of the universe, or of these ideas that we hear so much, like the interconnectivity of all things, the energy that flows through everything, Christ consciousness, Buddha nature, whatever you want to call it. As soon as I started to hear that something like this existed, well then, being curious and the human that I am, I started to wonder, how do I get there? How do you get there? How do you get to experience this thing called a moment? Well, you turn to your practice, right? You turn to your practice and you go back to what I was talking about in that video of everything that I've learned up to this point on my Reiki journey, which was all about mindset, right? To me, if I'm sitting down in my practice, be it on myself or on a client, and my mind is busy, then everything is busy, right? If I'm actively engaging and moving and doing and bending and opening and then I'm busy. And so I can never recognize the moment, because a moment is gone before it even arrives, right? And I don't mean that literally, but what I do mean is it's such an infinitely small sliver of time that as soon as we recognize it, it's already gone. And so in order to recognize it at all, we have to be still. We have to be still in the mind. We have to be quiet in the body, okay? And so if we can start to recognize first our mindset as being busy or our body as being not still, then we can start to work on ironing out all of those levels of resistance. And with each level of resistance that's cleared, more moments will become recognizable. I guarantee it. It's such a beautifully liberating space, again, to be in, because when you're there, nothing exists, right? Nothing exists. No suffering, no sickness, no fear, no worries, nothing at all exists. And yet everything exists. Everything is possible in that space. And, this is a topic that, to elaborate further on that point, how everything can exist in that space, this is something that I teach about in my master level, because it's really such a huge topic. It would demand at least 5 or 6 hours of talking about, really, to explore all the different avenues and connections and ways that we can comprehend that. But suffice it to say, in a nutshell and in brevity, in a moment, the entire universe is in your hand, because you are the entire universe. And as soon as I felt that and recognized that, well, my entire understanding and practice of Reiki instantaneously changed. So perhaps you felt that. Perhaps you've been in that space, or you felt this kind of overarching stillness, this beautiful stillness. If you have, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know your experience. I'd love to know how it felt for you. If you haven't felt it, it doesn't matter. That's the beauty. I'll explain it really quickly like this. Remember, I'm saying in that moment that everything and nothing exists, right? So if you reach that feeling once, but in that feeling there's no time or space, well, then that means, and stay with me here, that means that you're there right now. Isn't that beautiful? Because think about it. When you feel it, at some point, if you believe in reincarnation, then you just extend that out to however many lives you want. At some point, you'll feel it. Maybe with your last breath, maybe in another life, or maybe you've already felt it. But in that moment, because there's no time, there's no space, there's no Bruce, there's no body, there's no existence, there's no suffering. In lieu of all of those things that there isn't, there simply is, right? And because everything simply is, then that means right now you are in the moment. You are a projection of the moment of yourself sitting there in stillness. That point of stillness is no different than where you are right now. So, if you haven't felt it, if you think that this is not possible and so on, just keep working on your mindset. Quiet the mind, still the body. You'll get there. Why do I know you'll get there? Because you're already there.